Hello and welcome to the Startup Operator Podcast. I'm Roshan Cariappa. My guest today is Amit Mishra, who is the CEO and co-founder of iMocha. iMocha is a fast-growing SaaS startup in the assessment and recruitment space. Amit was running a pretty successful IT services business before this. It was called Radix, and he explained how they decided to pivot, the nuances of operating in the recruitment industry, lessons from the $0 to $1 million journey, and what it's like to belong in the thriving SaaS ecosystem in India. This was a fascinating conversation, and I'm sure you'll like it, so do stick around. Hey Amit, welcome to the Startup Operator Podcast. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks, Roshan. Thanks to you too.
Yeah, so I've been really looking forward to this conversation. As I said, I spent about 4 years in the recruitment space early in my career. Would really love to understand some facets from you. But I guess, to begin things, you could take us through your founding journey with Radix and iMocha and talk about a few of the key milestones along the way,
So Roshan, I was working with IBM Software Lab, way back on a technology which was called as Lotus Domino, which is typically a business process management technology then. And though it was a dying technology and was getting replaced by Microsoft SharePoint, but I started my career and worked on that technology for first few years of my career after passing out and getting straight into job. Okay. Thereafter, in IBM, it was very flexible hours. For a shorter stint, I joined a company which was like HSBC GLT, and it was a technology division of HSBC Bank. Okay, and it was opened up newly in Pune. And so first of all, there was change in behavior. So I, in my lifetime, started with Municipality School of Marathi Medium, which is a local language in Maharashtra, and we did every education of mine into government college. Okay, so from Municipality School to Government College of Engineering Amravati, everything was government. So I was not used to wearing shoes and having formals and all. And in IBM, even I continued with that opportunity where I was able to preserve it. But in HSBC, for me as a person, it was a long change in behavior where they wanted me to wear formals, wear shoes and all that time. Okay, formal shoes and all. so that was one reason. And second reason was whether it was IBM or HSBC, because I was a talkative person, though was a techie. They always used to send me to customer side, which is typically like US, Austin, or Geneva, Switzerland, and wanted me to settle down there. But I was not prepared for that then, and even I'm not prepared now. Okay? And I wanted to do something from India only. So these were the two reasons. First, change in behavior required wearing shoes. Okay, and second, settling in abroad. I didn't want this to happen. And meanwhile, I was about to go for love marriage. Okay, so I thought my wife should not be used to a hefty salary, and then it will be very hard for me. So combining these three reasons, just before my marriage, I thought, okay, let me dive into something without thinking much. I started Radix. Okay, so I would say instead of motivation, it was. So I'm a risk taker by and large. Okay, and risk taker who would like to live this life on our own terms, and I thought of getting into something Lotus Domino. This was what I knew that time, and Sujit was working with me, co-founder of iMocha then. So I co-founded Radix along with Sujit on services on Lotus Domino technology, and later we moved to Lotus to SharePoint migration, to IBM to Microsoft migration. And Sujit was working still because he's relatively a less risk taker. He wanted to settle first and then jump into it full-fledgedly, though he's genius and better than me in many of the aspects. But yes, risk taking is where I have an edge on. Okay, so I started RBM, Radix Business Models, ran it for a while, worked on it. And moreover, when I started it a decade back around, then India needed more than products. I would say India needed more jobs. And in services, that was the main thing. So in our lifetime of 5 to 7 years, when we ran IT services venture, in all we were able to generate 450 jobs altogether, and that was our achievement, I would say. But during all this time, because I worked with IBM, saw a product company how it works. Albeit it was a kida, bolte na, like kida tha कि we should develop our own product. So in 5 years of our execution in services, we every year we used to spend whatever profit we used to earn in some product. Okay, and so uh, we used to spend significantly on creating product, but product and services are altogether different mentality, and once you are not mature to a level, you should not manage both. So we used to create product and never used to able to connect with customers significantly and on a large scale. And moreover, there was on one side there was a big line of services chunk, okay, and product chunk was always smaller. So eventually we used to fail. So in those 5 years, we developed 5 products and failed. Then Sujit and me made a rule that looks like Moonlighters doesn't work. Amavasya ko कुछ नहीं आता है, and it will go in 15 days. कभी छोटा कभी बड़ा. If you would like to really make some impact or some significant thing, you need to be a sun, okay, which is rising in the morning and setting up in the evening at least 12 hours a day. And we already merged with a company, Radix, by then. And Sujit and I thought, okay, let's start something in product this time. And India also as a country matured. We have a raw material, which is typically technology guys in abundance, which is the next logical step for India. SaaS was starting. There were a few players like Zoho and Freshworks already. And we thought, let's get into it and try a lot. And we were facing a problem in our own IT services company where our recruiter always used to creep. Not recruiter. The hiring manager used to creep that recruiters has sent us some guys for interview and they were totally useless. We tried digging out the problem and found out that recruiter judges a candidate on a resume, and candidates are very lavish in writing resume. If they have worked on something even for a week, they make sure it's a part of their resume as a proficient or intermediate at least. Okay. So we thought of solving that problem by developing an interview tool. Okay. Automated interview tool, one-way interview tool that time. And Sujit and me decided to work on this problem. We were sitting in one cafe coffee day, CCD, having mocha coffee, solving interview problem. So we thought, okay, let's name it interview problem mocha coffee. Interview mocha was the name we came up with. Okay, and that's how interview mocha was born, which is iMocha now. Okay, when we tried digging deeper into the problem, we realized though interview problem is a big problem, and it has been addressed by some Westerners, some US companies already, but quantification of skills into interview process was becoming even more important than that. And I'm happy that all interview players have assessment model now. Okay, and there was a reason to it. After getting into this model, getting some initial traction, talking to few customers, we realized that it's a skill economy. Okay, and the skill matrix of entire world has changed drastically. So if you see the two biggest retail players of US, be it Walmart and Amazon, if you try digging on and zoom in into their skill matrix, while old school player like Walmart has floor managers, merchandiser, Amazon has affiliates, graphic designers, and others. If you see banks, bank teller jobs were getting replaced by technology, which is called as ATM and online machine. Even tolls and parkways in US that time were getting replaced by RFID and CCTV technologies. In India, even if you see, FASTag is in place now, as recent as last couple of quarters. So we saw technology is killing every organization. And even if you see marketing is becoming a digital marketing. Okay, it's not no more a traditional marketing. So if you try to look at all this economy from skill point of view for this new age world, because of information and technology revolution, it has been changing faster than before. And according to all the research and our customer talk, we realized that 30% of the skills which population is working on at this point in time are new as last decade. And in next 5 to 10 years, whatever millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, Generation Z will work on, those skills will be altogether new skills. And now if you see cyber security, AI, ML, NLP, artificial intelligence, then cyber security, all these fields have come, these things have come new. And we thought, when this economy changing is fast, while training courses will play a major important role in doing this digital transformation of organizations to stay competitive, assessment will play a currency role. So it's like a pandemic that is happening in skill world, where diagnostic will be done by skill assessment. Okay.
Right.
And then we over a period of time realized, and happy to share now, that we are at a juncture where we have 2000 plus skills, new age skills, which is bigger than 2x than any other nearest competition when digital skills are concerned, new age skills are concerned. And that has been affirmed by, like, we have world's top 5 out of top 10 IT consulting companies. We already have 5 as our customers and growing. So that's a affirmation to it. Then Satya Nadella is talking about us as innovative Microsoft Group CEO, right? Global CEO. So that is an affirmation on our journey and what we are doing so far.
That's fantastic. I mean, you've had quite a journey, I should say, right? And I want to zoom in on a few different aspects because I think that could be interesting. So literally, like every services company at some point of time has that kida to transition to products, right? And
Right.
a lot of them try and fail because, as you mentioned, they are very different businesses and you need a different mindset for it, right? And at the same time, fully committing to products and, ignoring cash flow is a very difficult thing, right? So how did you make this transition? And any lessons you've learned, any words of advice for people who are trying to make this transition from services to products?
Yeah, sure. So Roshan, so I would say learning product and getting into it was far more easier than unlearning IT services. Okay. So I talked a lot about this in media already. So what happens? The biggest challenge. So I always give that analogy, like we were washing dishes and in services, with all due respect to services. Okay, just for an analogy. And if you would like to get more money, we should wash clothes, jhadu pocha. Okay, we should make chapatis, we should cook and offer more services. If you would like to, so either you need to increase your set of services or you need to increase bodies. So this was what services was. And now I'm into a business where I have made a Vim bar, which will be used to wash dishes. Okay. Now all together different mentality, man, like from washing dishes and making a product that with which you wash dishes. And that's an analogy of product versus services, I would say. Okay. Now, so I would say if you zoom it up, like a maid gets $1,000 in a household to wash dishes, but only Vim get only 50 rupees. No, not dollar, 50 rupees on the similar market. But you need to have scale. Okay, altogether different mentality. There can be 5 crore maids who can coexist in India, but there are only 3-4 players as far as that powder is concerned, that soap bar is concerned. Vim, Patanjali, Exo, and list is gone, right? To understand this and unlearning earlier thinking, where we used to close bigger deals and land bigger deals and used to get monthly billable thing, took a lot of time. And I would say I will give credit of this transition to 2 things. So we got into accelerator, luckily in October 2014, which is a Gen Next accelerator. Now it is called a Geo Gen Next, run by Reliance, and it was powered by Microsoft Ventures. Okay, and it was for product companies. And they, during that course of 4 months, and I was stationed in Mumbai then, okay, going through, I call it as a SaaS startup MBA, okay. And thereafter, with the similar set of people, we engaged into UPECA, again a SaaS startup accelerator. Instead of taking funding, we opted that path, okay. And those, and along with SaaS booming, it used to call as SaaSX then, okay. So with this ecosystem, with this accelerator and frameworks, and definitely when you get Krishna, you also need to be Arjuna to implement it, otherwise it doesn't work. So some credit to us even, okay. We were able to successfully unlearn IT services first. So first year was unlearning IT services, and in second year it was learning SaaS, where in product you can, so for example, take example of again Vim. Whenever a product range changes, if you make only metal utensils, it is Pitambari, no more Vim, right? Or if you wash clothes, but if it is woolen clothes, it's easy, okay. For product to be successful, you need to be very cautious and informed about your segment, their problem. Is it big problem? Is it the problem worth solving? Is it the problem that will long last? Is it the problem which will have more frequency for your usage of the product? And after all, that smaller problem within that segment should have a big addressable market. And it took us quite a lot, almost 2.5-3 years. We kept on getting rid of other markets. Being a mostly bootstrap company, we took on that decision, did that journey from very small businesses to 1 to 10 people, SOHO companies, to SMB, to medium, and now enterprises.
This episode is brought to you by Mulya. You want to move fast? Sure. But without breaking things? Now that's a hard ask. The thing is, once you have some base of users and customers, you just cannot afford to risk quality. So how do the likes of Cred, Swiggy and Curefit, some of India's fastest growing startups, ship at lightning pace and delight their users and customers? Simple, they're working with Mulya as a strategic quality partner. Mulya is India's most talented and passionate community of testers. They've helped prevent thousands of bugs and regression issues. So as a CTO or a product owner, if you want to reduce tech debt, especially while you scale, do check out Mulya.com. I've interviewed Mulya's founder and CEO Pradeep on the podcast earlier, and we spoke about how startups can improve quality while scaling and things to that effect. You should definitely check it out. I'll link to it in the description below. Now back to your regular programming. Yeah, that's fantastic, and I don't think I'll forget that metaphor ever again, right? So with the Vim bar and whatnot, like you mentioned, finding that product market fit is super important, right? Because there's a lot at stake, and it's very difficult to come from that mentality of TK. I mean, like, I will do whatever someone wants versus I will do only this particular thing for only these types of customers and only these particular times, right? So this whole process of product market fit, what was it like for you? And how did you know that you had hit product market fit?
Okay, perfect. So I would say we did product market fit couple of times. Okay, first of all, okay. So it's a journey, fine. So see, we realize that a product will go through different life cycle: initiation, prototype, rollout, growth, scale, maturity, expansion, and maturity. Okay, so we knew this framework, and when we went into rollout phase, so I would say rollout phase, you have symptoms like you will have multiple segment of customer, multiple value proposition. But when you are trying to scale, there is a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out, and you will start serving each of the customer segment which each of your value proposition, and you will mess up your product marketing. You will mess up your product roadmap. You will mess up your product marketing. You will mess up your I would say sales or everything, because you are running thin. Multiple proposition, multiple value segment, at that too at the initial stage of a startup, we very risky and dangerous. But again, fear of missing out. If we leave apart some customer segment, it will have a direct impact on revenue. Okay, so how did we overcome it? Was like then I learned about a framework in NASCOM in Bangalore from a reputed. So I was attending a. I said you need to be Arjun for knowing Krishna again. Okay, I was learning to one of the leading VC investor of SaaS in India in NASCOM, and he talked about how to understand and come up with a segment. So he talked about five thing that first of all it should be a differentiated market. A category should be differentiated. Your product should have a large appeal, large market. The usage of that product should be for long years. The usage frequency should be high, and it should have longer expansion potential. So when we applied these five principles, okay, then out of the 7-8 use cases and customer segment we were serving, couple of the segments were clear winners. It was a huge market. Their usage for us was minutely, hourly, or daily. In certain segment, it was weekly once, monthly once, or quarterly once. Okay, fine. So for example, if you see recruiting, a small company recruits only a couple of guys in a month, and that too, them relying only on an assessment player may not be a regular activity. It may be a seasonal or rare activity, right? But we were serving them as a customer. But if you see a medium segment, okay, they will be using us maybe daily, okay, because they are recruiting 400 to 500 people, but enterprises recruiting thousands. They will be using us secondly, minutely, okay. So certain segment find appealing to us, okay. So we let go Soho and SMB segment the most, okay. We got into medium and enterprise, but again, sitting in India, closing enterprises in US was not, but we were fortunate that we had customers from all the segments. The only thing is we were not able to put that specs where we were able to see their problem better. So we started talking to only these people. And when we started talking to these people, we were understanding their problem better. When we were understanding their problem better, our product roadmap was only in accordance to one use case, one customer segment. So our product our offerings becoming stronger and stronger. When we started selling only one segment, one use case, our marketing become narrow, focused, more appropriate. Our sales guys was doing more or less similar job every now and then. Okay, so it started like a factory where predictably our keywords were working, our landing pages were working, their conversion ratio started working. Our sales guys for that segment was having some predictable conversion ratios. Once these kind of customers are coming to us, they are becoming successful more than other segments, and there is an expansion thereafter. So we started that music or rhythm observing within the organization, and so we were able to. Then we started counting only this type of customer, how many of this customer we land and make them successful. And it was it was not a sine wave then. It was an exponential build of revenue. So we started looking at our revenue cohort wise, how it is growing quarter on quarter. New revenue, a cohort which is added last year, this quarter, cohort wise, how is doing now. And we saw a steep and continuous growth in some segment. And then we took a decision. We changed the SMB. So we are running like a small 2 organization within. And we did that exercise, and now it's been quite repeatable and working well for us.
That's awesome. I think it's really quite something to see that flywheel, right? I mean, once it starts kicking in, I mean, you really you realize, what impact that can have. I'd love to delve into some of those aspects later in the conversation. Let's switch our focus to the industry you operate in, recruitment, right? It's a perennial problem. It's always existed, but it's also a very fragmented market, right? There are many different players, many different solutions to the same sort of problem. So how do you manage to stand out in this?
So first of all, as I told you, for Vim to survive, it must have a unique proposition, okay, and that appeals than any other player in the market. So first of all, So that started with a problem. Okay, so we are focusing on single problem. There is a digital world, and there are some digital skills in this digital world. Okay, and we should be the number one player for the companies which are facing these problems, which are doing this digital transformation within. Okay, and they need to serve themselves or their customers on these digital skills more than any other segment. Okay, when we started doing this, we found out that IT consulting companies have enterprise applications, digital division, quality assurance, cyber security, application development. Okay, and all set of skills. Why? Because their customers are digitally transforming, so they need to do this transformation. Okay, otherwise there are good chances they won't if they don't stay competitive. So first of all, though it looks like we have hundreds and thousands of competition, but I'm happy that we are beating every competition in our segment. As I said, we already have top 5 out of top 10 world leaders in this already, and hundreds of others within the segment. And then we found out that the large IT teams within non-IT companies behaves like works like a IT players. Okay, and for this segment, be it our comprehensive set of skills that are readily available, be it our crowdsourced model that can create custom skills if there is a need to create it, and we are the fastest custom skill creation. So we are a Uber of this world, where we create skills in a Uberization model, where we don't own the fleet, we don't own the experts, but we get any skills created, validated, calibrated within record time, and that's our DNA. Okay, already created 2000 plus skills. I guess it is 2500 or so now, which is bigger than any other competition. Okay, our platform is well suited for IT consulting, be it proctoring, be it range of skill assessment, be it custom skill facility. Plus, our account manager and customer success guys know so many use cases, and they have been helping so many IT consulting companies, and we have metadata of so many IT consulting companies that we are able to benchmark the population, benchmark the test, benchmark an individual candidate for this industry, for any location on planet Earth, I would say. Okay, so we, with this data, with this set of comprehensive skill assessment features, platform, and DNA of making this customer successful, sets up apart in the competition. And I would say, though it looks like technology world and all hackers of the world, but there are 4.3% hackers in the world, but IT population is 22 million going towards 40 million. So 4.3% may be taken by all our competition together, but the rest 96% is for us. Okay, and that has been endorsed by Satya Nadella, that has been endorsed by LinkedIn and Global when they came up with. So it's an interesting thing. When we launched iMocha, we were amongst the, in Pune there are 6 players. Okay, so there are 1,000 assessment player globally. They asked, why are you doing us? We narrated this story, and happy to say that LinkedIn wrote a report, Google wrote a report in which there was 12 top modern recruiting tools used by HR in the world. There are only 2 assessment players. We are one of them. With 2 of us, or are me 2 of us, trying to copy what we are doing, but we are already ahead in race as far as the segment is concerned, which is IT consulting.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. So let's talk about your product itself, right? I mean, can you talk to us about some of the nuances of building an assessment product? It seems like a very challenging thing to do, right? Like if you look at it externally, I mean, it seems very, very commoditized, right? Everyone has a test bank and so on and so forth, right? So what are some nuances of building that assessment product, and adding things like proctoring and then validating authenticity of the person who's taking the test, and so on and so forth?
Sure. So I would divide. So I will put constraint as enterprises only, okay, because we understand their problems better. IT consulting companies. So their problems fall into many categories, which is solved by our three of the major offerings. So first is, I would say, technology platform, assessment platform. Now in assessment platform, for to be enterprise ready, first of all, you need to have role-based access control, you need to have single sign-on, you need to have team collaboration features, you need to have security measures, you need to be you need to have all the compliances, okay, that is required for industry in the industry. Now I'm happy to say, in this world there are only 5-6 players who are compliant with whatever I talked in last 1 minute, okay, as far as enterprises is concerned. Then comes the technology offering itself, okay. So I will quote two examples here, okay. So now just let me take a pause here, and why iMocha becomes iMocha. So that iMocha, this I stands for innovation, okay. iMocha, innovative mocha, okay. Innovation is our DNA. Satya also talked about it. iMocha, we would like to be iconic, iMocha, and we wanted to remember Mocha, old word. So we thought, okay, innovative mocha is even representation of a previous word, iMocha. Now we would like to be the most effective, innovative company as far as assessment concerned for our segment, and innovation that matters to the customer. So I'll tell you so I will quote two examples here. First, we have created a question type called as AI powered logic box, AI logic box, in which you can quantify a descriptive question, okay, or you can quantify a paragraph. So what happens in an IT consulting companies, there are many technologies for which compilers are not available, okay. Take example of SAP. SAP has SAP Fiori, SAP Basis, SAP FICO, SAP Material Management, and 40 other skills. Take example of Salesforce skills. Take example of Workday skills. Okay. Take examples of RPA skills, Blue Prism. Okay. There are so many skills where online compilers or compilers are not available. So we have made a question type in which, through AI, ML, and supervised learning, we have a pseudocode kind of stuff. So where some code lines will be written and some will be blank, and you need to put it, and system will automatically check it, and with every machine learning instance and supervised learning, it will become more and more accurate. Okay. Now this is available only on entire assessment world. I would say this is available only with us with 1,000+ skills. Okay. So it is no more a content, it is the effective content that can be consumed and give results that are effective for customer to interview more relevant candidates. So we have this AI powered logic box that can quantify the functional developers, and that is available only with us. Then second, as you talked about proctoring, we have proctoring in 5-6 ways. First, window violation, time violation, in which if a candidate is out of window, how many times he has going out, what he is doing, is he doing Googling and all, we capture it. Then we have image proctoring, where prior test will scan the retina through webcam and will maintain and will take random photos of that candidate during the test, and will automatically tell you within that test, is he getting some assistance, was the same person attended the test who was captured on the first test, so that in interview it can be verified again. Okay. Is there anybody helping it, and it is automated result. Then we have video proctoring, in which even it's a video and audio proctoring even. So even if there is a noise other than this candidate during that test, we capture it. And if it is not, is barking a dog, we neglect it. But if it's a person repeatedly talking, so it's a range of proctoring, tolerable limit, non-tolerable limit. And those whole video is automatically evaluated for any kind of mispractices using during the exam, be it a voice, is he connected this screen to some other screen where somebody is looking at it and telling him the answer. Is somebody assisting him? So it runs a lot of algorithm. Then we have IP ranges. For example, it helps customers in entry level hiring or campus hirings, so that that link is not gone out of that campus. Only those IP ranges will be able to access it. So there are set of proctoring mechanism we hire, which make sure that test is happened in a fair manner. At the same time, we make sure that candidate experience is at the peak, because customer candidate is the king in this market, and all of our enterprises value them a lot, and they need to have a very great candidate experience. So having a candidate experience proctoring mechanism, AI logic box, AI English Pro, a lot of innovative platform things we have done. As far as technology platform is concerned, these are first set of offering. Second set of offering is content itself. So we have content into enterprise application, digital skills, AI, ML, cybersecurity, RPA. You tell any new thing that is happening on the world, we are the first one to create that skill. Okay, and that too not only multiple choice question, but AI logic box, coding simulation, and everything in between. Okay, plus we have a lot of analytics, and that analytics starts from question level, skill library level, job description test level, org level, industry level. So we have a lot of metadata where we are able to benchmark the population, benchmark the question with question discrimination index, difficulty logic, a lot of algorithms, so that you may create questions in a year, 2 years time, but for calibrating each skill, you require 30 to 50 people at least in those skills to fairly apply for it. And we have been doing it since last 3-4 years. So we have 2000 skills where we have productized it in the market. Okay, it was all custom earlier. So this was our second. The comprehensive set of skill set libraries available and a calibration on the top of it, benchmarking on the top of it. First was technology platform, second was content, and third was we call ourselves as the extended skill assessment as a service department. Okay, so I value services a lot. I talk when you go to enterprises, be it industry benchmarking, be it setting up the internal benchmarking, be it creating custom questions, be it creating custom tests, be it uploading their questions, existing portfolio, we have customer success support in our DNA. Okay, so technology platform, skill libraries, and skill assessment as a DNA makes us our offering complete for our segment, and that's the results are out already, I would say.
Wow, there's so many nuances that go into this, right? I mean, from the outside, it seems like, it's a fairly well-defined problem. But really, when you get in the weeds, I mean, then you realize that there are so many nuances. That's simply amazing. But all of this is still one end of the equation, right? Because it's still input, I would say. The real test is also correlating all of the assessment, all of the sourcing on outcomes, right? Which is that, hey, I mean, you've hired this person. How is this person doing on the job? And sometimes it gets very difficult to complete that loop, I would say, right? Because all of this could be confidential information, subjective information, and so on. So I wonder if how you're able to sort of close the loop on that. Like, you've hired a person for the company. Is he good? Is he bad? So on.
Yeah. Roshan, I totally understand. You understand the space well. Okay. Now, so Roshan, what's the thing? So first of all, recruiting workflow or a candidate life cycle is handled by a tool called as applicant tracking system, or ATS. You might be aware of it. We are integrated with our customer ATS most of the time if it's an enterprise deal. Okay, but still, what you asked about, that data is not shared with us in a technology way. Okay, though they pull up the data from us, the back data is not given. But again, for closing this loop, our support and CS DNA helps us a lot. So we have monthly business review meeting on our calendar with the right stakeholder. We have quarterly business review with our customers. on our calendars, all our success guys. One customer success only handles 4-5 customers at our end. Okay. Then they have planned weekly calls, and now they have such a good relationship and rapport building, and it is helping customers in turn, right? So all our enterprise customer, we are fortunate, they are for their own benefit sharing the data with us, and we are closing the loop. Okay, so we are able to, and we have enterprise customer from last 3 years. That's affirmation that we are closing that loop again and again, and that as a collective way they are able to see on their effectiveness, their turnover. The attrition that happens in the first year of joining is called as turnover. Thereafter it is attrition. That turnover has gone down. That shows they are getting more job fit candidates at the first go. Now only candidates can leave them if they are not getting good salary or do not have a good manager. From job fitness, they can rely on us at a reasonably large level, I would say. And our customer support DNA, customer services, not support. I would say support is still a cost. Service, customer success is an investment, and we have invested a lot in our customer so that they are closing this loop along with us, and we are the stakeholders for that thing to happen.
Awesome. So, HR seems to be like one of those functions that I consider it's the most important function in any company, right? Because essentially, what is a business? It's people, product, and process. And without people, the other two are redundant, right? So, but oftentimes we see that, HR becomes an operational necessity rather than, like a strategic imperative, right? What has been your experience working with HR teams? What are some great things about working with them? What are some not so nice things that could perhaps improve and so on?
Okay. So again, I would restrict myself to my ideal customer profile, ICP, which is IT consulting. So first of all, the HR word is getting replaced by talent there. Okay. So they don't right. Call talent. Okay, because IT consulting and services industry is an industry where they get paid on delivery of every talent, every individual, unlike product companies. Okay, so whatever 300 billion, 400 billion industry that is, okay, and already growing to 500 billion, and looks like will go to trillion because of digital adoption. Okay, happening more. That total industry is dependent on talent, and talent acquisition, talent maintenance, and talent growth is the most vital thing they do. So they don't look at talent as an operational thing, but they look at talent as their product, as their offering, as their value proposition. Okay, so I'm in a fortunate industry where they do understand, because it directly affects not. So we are a player which looks like a player who is reducing the total cost of ownership of the process. Yes, we are. But the output of our process is a talent which is helping them in return on investment and getting the bottom line up, which any company or customer value the most. So I would say in our case, we are lucky that we are into talent acquisition space primarily. We are serving a lot of existing customer on talent management even nowadays. Okay, and it's a big things, like few thousand employees, each one of them. So I would say we are the skill meter of an organization where their leaders, their managers are taking decisions for variety of purposes as far as skill is concerned, and we offer only those skills which are quantifiable. If that skill is a personality or behavior skill which is very vague, a person in Chennai or Pune, 20-year-old girl in Chennai, 20-year girl, not old, it's a girl. A 20-year girl in Pune, Chennai, New York, and California has different personality and behavior. So we don't go into and get into that thing. Java skill in India, in US remains the same. So we are into business of quantifying skills which are accurate, predictable, okay, and our customers values it a lot.
Amazing. So let's shift our gaze towards your role as a founder right now, and iMocha as a startup itself, right? So talk to us about some of the high level challenges that you're trying to solve as a founder.
So my challenges is, fortunately, unfortunately, we have become an organization with double engine, and these two engines are different, SMB and enterprise. Okay, so shifting, and it's a running machine where there are few employees significant who are continued with us with that DNA. There are new guys we are coming only from enterprises, and doing this transition from an SMB player to medium and segment, from customer point of view, serving point of view, you have done it, but internally internalizing it at a scale, okay, requires a lot of people management, okay, a lot of conflict management, a lot of incentive management, okay, literally incentive management, I would say. And now previously it was founders who has been doing everything. Now we have, in product, we have product head, we have content head, we have technology engineering head. In sales, we have sales head, we have business development head, we have account mining head, we have CS head. Okay, so having a smooth execution of enterprises without any intolerable conflict, plus growing the organization, okay, is a challenge, I would say. And second is recruiting right people. So previously we were totally inbound focused traction channel. Now when we realized and our customer was very well known, we created an outbound team. We started spending on outbound channels, and now we know customers, so we go to customer and get them in. Now recruitment is also the same thing. Previously we used to recruit just by publishing some LinkedIn and social media. Now for every recruit we create an outbound plan, which company, what kind of people, and these guys are mostly passive. Okay, like good customer are passive many a times. The same is the case with good candidates. Now this is a challenge in front of us to get great candidates who will be contributing faster without getting that speed out. We are growing almost 2.5x every year from last 3-4 years, and we would like to maintain that momentum. And that too, we are not funded VC per se. We don't want that to happen still. Okay, and we are cash positive every month. We just raised a small round just to make sure that we have affirmation from all leading SaaS entrepreneurs who are or becoming a unicorn. Unfortunately, we have. So my challenge is, first, I'll come back to challenge, alignment of the organization, recruitment, and then after recruitment, onboarding and making them productive at a faster speed is the third challenge we are facing at this point in time. Otherwise, business model wise, we got the product market fit, we got the traction channel. Microsoft partnership is working great wonders for us. Okay, we are getting quite predictable pipeline, conversion. What was my dream? Like, customer is fairly successful, growing. So all those pieces are done. All human talent related pieces are still the challenge that I'm solving nowadays.
Right. So you are solving your own talent challenge.
Yeah.
Right. So, in any SaaS company, I guess there are different phases, right? The 0 to 1 million phase, the 1 to 10 million phase, 10 million and beyond, and then maybe 100 million afterwards, right? So you've done the 0 to 1 million phase very successfully, and that required a different kind of a mindset. You are now in this 1 to 10 million sort of a journey, right? What are some things that you are doing differently that you are trying to imbibe consciously as a founder?
Okay. So first thing is up to $1 million, I would say still we hold segments which are not our ideal customers, though our customers. Okay. And that's a significant chunk. So from 1 to 10 million, first of all, we decided, again, here we became outbound, no outbound. It won't happen at the mercy of something. When we are at $10 million in a couple of years, how should we look like? Okay, what should be the composition? Okay, from this cohort, what should be our revenue? From this territory, what should be our revenue? What should be the channel that should work? What should be the partner driven channel? Because when you are thinking about 1 to 10 million, definitely like see, 100-story building needs to be decided at a first story. That basis has to be profound. Otherwise, you won't be able to make a 10 to 100 million journey, right? So figuring out, is it the right revenue? So our past data helps here. So we are seeing the cohort which is becoming X to 2X to 3X. Whichever is declining, we are getting that revenue off. and we are adding right revenue more and more, so that if we did X million this year, next year with this X million, X n number of customer which is providing X million, it should be 1.5x. So if I'm at 5 million, for example, next year with this customer, I should have 7.5 millions. Okay. So we are doing that realignment in terms of customer segment, in terms of their nature, in terms of their needs, in terms of their behavior, in terms of their territory. Attraction channel, we are deciding what. So inbound, we do not have a limit. Whatever jo de diya ho, theek hai. Okay. But in outbound, we are making it more predictable. In partner channel, be it Microsoft, be it all the bigger advisories of the world, be it bigger ATS player, what should be the mix? And we are focusing on yearly. Previously, we used to only think for a quarter max. Now we are thought for a year, and we know there is a slide, one slide in my presentation, every monthly presentation, which is same, that this is how we should look like in December. Okay, that includes all these things, and we are on that path.
Right. So one of the things that strikes me as I talk to you is that you've invested a fair bit in customer marketing as such, right? Which is like you mentioned, the same amount of revenue should grow like 1.5x, and that doesn't happen without really being empathetic for the customer and really investing your efforts growing that account, right? And also, I mean, something that I read from a previous interview of yours is how your ACV went from somewhere around $500 to around $30,000, right?
Yeah.
Now
that number is becoming like multiplying at least by 3x. In certain cases, even 10x.
Wow, amazing. So could you just talk about those two elements? How your ACV has gone up over the years, and what you've done to enable that, and also your customer marketing as such.
Okay. Now, so Roshan, customer don't pay you for your solution; they pay you for solving their problems. Okay, and bigger the problem, more the number of people who are facing those problems, and more the metrics that organization care about. And if you are affecting those, changes it. So I would say going from 500 to 3000 is totally dependent on customer problem. So we are solving the problem for bigger customer at a scale now. Okay, and we are becoming their part of process, and they value us a lot in their own functioning. Okay, now even 30,000 previously thought 30,000 expansion, now we are landing at similar number. Okay, and then in a first year itself it is 3x, and then 1.5x that way. So that's we are striking at least with our enterprise set of customers. Now for customer marketing, I would say once we get a land, whether it's at a project level or a teams level at an enterprise customer, whether it's a department level, first we make sure that instead of doing anything, our customer success team makes that customer successful within first 3 months to 6 months in whatever endeavor and metrics they are trying to achieve. Okay, once that is done, we take a good advocacy from that customer, and using that advocacy, we start remarketing, we start marketing, we start reaching out. So it's a big organization with dozens of locations, dozens of business units, and dozens of projects and teams. So unless one team is successful, we take all our efforts to make sure that we are making that project, that team successful within an organization. Once that is done, हम इसका पूरा ढिंडोरा पीटते पूरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में across the globe. Sorry, global viewers, if they are, ढिंडोरा is the word you may not understand.
Okay. So we are focused completely on India. So there are 10% people listening from outside, but वो भी देसी होंगे. So yeah.
Perfect. So then we do with this value proposition through all the possible channels without interrupting them, with a clear intention of creating value to them. Organization, it's a bigger circle. We have only got a smaller circle. Then we really like a spider mine it. Okay, and already we have an advocacy. Already we have a person to vouch for us. We find out a internal champion who will vouch for us if they need be, and it is relatively easier job to sell to the existing customer. Still, I would say it is more or less new sales if it's a new location, new department, new use case. But yes, within the same customer, it works.
Right. So, you're also part of this evolving SaaS ecosystem in India, right? And one of the things that is something that everyone notices is that the amount of institutional knowledge that is there in SaaS today in India, right? The playbooks and metrics and benchmarks and so on and so forth. So, what are your thoughts on the SaaS ecosystem itself in India?
So first of all, like in 2014, 15, and now in 21, first of all, there was SaaS ecosystem. It was itself into initiation and prototype stage. Then it went into rollout. So SaaS ecosystem is again a startup. Okay, now it is into a shape where we have enough incidences, enough know-how, how to acquire, maintain, and grow global customers, and it is into a stage where it is slated to scale very fast. Okay, we have all the helps from and somehow I'm not sure about other industry, but in sand industry we guys are very connected, whether it's a Pune SaaS guys, Chennai SaaS guys, Bangalore SaaS guys. There are some platforms like SaaS Bhumi, some accelerator who are connecting. It's becoming a connected world. We are helping, we are opening out, like I'm helping guys. And now these successful SaaS entrepreneurs are helping even by their own investment. They are spending some money and helping the guys. So you can, so what, so this is like going to be IT services story for India. Okay, what IT services for 35 years back, and then it grew. Now the same story will be repeated for SaaS. I'm very hopeful about it. There are going to be few TCSs, few Infosys, few Wipros, few HCLs, followed by a lot of second level Hexawares and KPITs and Cybages of the world, followed by a lot of 10 to $50 million companies. So SaaS will become one of them. So I'm confident that in next 5 to 10 years, like what our prime minister or other minister call product and IT, they will take SaaS word in their each speech. It will be as big as IT consulting.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, something that I mentioned quite a few times on the podcast is that I feel like we're in the third wave in terms of the startup ecosystem itself. I mean, if you consider the .com as, wave one, and then consumer internet as Flipkart and Ola's of the world. And then I think we're on the SaaS wave. And I feel like this will be like, a lot bigger because of a convergence on variety of things, right? Whether it's the kind of IT skill set we have or cloud itself and so on and so forth. So, my final question to you is that you are an Indian founder building a global business, right? Today you have customers in like 30, 50 countries across the world, right? What are you optimistic for from an Indian startup perspective looking out in the future?
Okay, so from our iMocha perspective, first of all, we are though revenue wise we might be lagging a bit to prove that, but we are already a category leader within our segment. Okay, and we would like to continue it more. And so there is a short term and there is a long term thing. Okay, in short term, we should be the category leader for skill assessment, for recruitment, as well as L&D for IT consulting companies and large IT teams of non-IT and other companies. So in short term, we would like to be the category leader in this particular market. In long term, like what photocopy is for Xerox, search is for Google, I would like to own the word skill assessment. Skill assessment is iMocha.
Fantastic. That's a fantastic note to end the podcast on, Amit. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I think a lot of insights uncovered during this conversation. So thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Roshan. Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this episode, then don't forget to subscribe to us on your favorite platform. and share this episode with all of your fellow startup operators. Also, follow the Startup Operator on LinkedIn and Twitter for more updates. Stay safe, take care, and see you soon on a brand new episode of the Startup Operator.